Dale got Hulk hands? I'm livid. Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. This is episode 199, and I'm your host, the Mayor, Jeff Hornacek. Thank you guys so much for joining us for the movie discussion tonight. Before we get started, let us go around and meet the fellow bros. We begin in the lab with the mad scientist Brian Banner. Banner, you have on an incredible Hulk shirt. After you and him had an incredible fight in UFC 299, I'm kind of surprised to see you representing for him.
You know, I'm just promoting the fight. It was an epic one, to say the least. And yeah, we've had some words since. It went about how you would expect, but yeah, we're on good terms. Not speaking terms, but good terms.
You said some really messed up stuff after that.
Well, he started it.
I don't think he can't barely even talk. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
And he wasn't wearing any clothes, man.
Yeah, he doesn't have the respect to clothe himself or enunciate his words.
In his defense, Banner, and I know it was a one-on-one fight, so this isn't the best defense, but he thought it was shirts versus skins.
I had my shirt off too.
Yeah, that's the problem. Shirts versus skins. It's like it's just one-on-one. I think we'll know who's on whose team. Next, we go to our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycli. Cycli, since you're a lawyer, I have to ask you. I got something in the mail yesterday from Honda, and it said, last final notice, must call to pay $1,000 or lose my car. I have to call them, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially the fact that you don't drive a Honda. That's
even more alarming. I don't want to lose the car that I don't have.
Honda's not only saying you have to drive our car, they're saying we will take your car.
Are we maybe overstepping a boundary? No.
Hey, it's a good sales tactic. You know, you can't fault them.
Honestly, if even one person falls for it, they're still net positive. It's pretty good. All right, well, here on the Bro 4 Squad podcast, we typically start every episode off with the most important thing in any bro's life, and that is our chest day segment. But since it has been so long since some of us have gotten to talk movies and TV on here, we decided to actually turn the chest day, we do this periodically, into our protein shake segment as well, which is where we go around and talk about what is in our cup, also known as what have we watched lately, because there's so many things we have not got to discuss, and I think we have a little bit of overlap, and then, of course, a bunch of things that maybe the other bros haven't seen that we can share. So why don't we just go round robin, and then things that we've shared, of course, anyone can jump in. Banner, why don't we start with you? What is the most recent thing, or I guess something you've seen since we last spoke? Because it's been a while since you got to come on.
Yeah. Let's start. We're going to go pretty tame here. This one I watched a little while ago. It was on Netflix. I think it's still there. And I believe you've actually watched this, Jeff, but Where the Crawdads Sing. And maybe I even talked about it the last time I was on. I don't know. To be honest with you, it's been a while, so I don't remember.
I haven't seen it,
We're going to talk about it again.
My wife is a huge fan of the book, so much so to where I think when the first trailer came out, she was a little bit scared to even watch it because she holds the book in very high esteem.
The book is... I've read a lot of books, and by read, I mean I've listened to. It is probably a top 10 book that I've read.
Wow.
But that number's kind of skewed because it's hard with a lot of series that kind of build on each other. This is just a one-off, single, standalone book. It is a very, very, very good book. This might be the best page-to-screen adaptation I've ever seen.
Wow.
It is almost line for line,
Really?
Scene for scene. It is very, very good. They did a great job. The movie definitely does the book justice. Minor things that they changed. Nothing significant enough to even have it be a blip on your radar. The acting was fantastic. They really did a good job of connecting. It's not easy material, guys. I don't know if you guys know what the subject matter is, but there is a
crawdad singing in a choir or something, right? Like
yeah. It's actually
It's an
a boy
acapella
band.
group, actually.
Yeah, acapella boy band.
Fuck that actually sounds.
I do want to watch that movie.
I was gonna say that's a movie Cyclone I'd be lined up for midnight showing.
Like, fuck, take my money.
Now, Banner, sorry to interrupt you, but I had heard a lot of mixed things about this, and I guess the internet is even split because looking at just like ratings of it, 34% on Rotten Tomatoes, but 76% of Google users like it, and it has a 7.1 on IMDb, which is really respectable.
7.1? Wow.
Yeah.
I don't trust Rotten Tomatoes.
I
if
don't
I'm gonna be
really
honest
either,
with you.
but and Cycly,
See, I
you're
don't
like
get
this.
when people say that. Yeah. Jeff, you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, Cycly, you saw Fresh, right? The movie with Sebastian Stan. I told you to watch it, right? Or
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
well,
I was sitting here going, wait.
the main girl in the movie, Daisy Edgar Jones, is the lead in Where the Crawdads Sing. I was wondering where you saw her from.
So really quickly, I have not watched it, but Jeff, just because you mentioned your wife was a fan, how did she find the movie?
Me?
Yeah, how did your wife?
Oh, she hasn't. We haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, she was like afraid to watch it because it's like basically her favorite book of all time. So I think she's nervous. But once I tell her that Banner said it was very faithful to the book, I think that
she's definitely not going to watch it.
She's like, oh, well, fuck no, I don't trust anything that guy says.
My wife.
Actually, if anybody she shouldn't trust, it's Cycly.
That's absolutely true. Hey, there's no blood in that movie.
Yeah, because Nope isn't scary.
No, it was it's not.
They have a history of Cycly telling my wife movies are not that violent, and then in the theater.
She's just, I'm trying to get her to not be so sensitive. Is all.
The best part about that story, if you're at home, this involved the movie Us by Jordan Peele.
Us, not Nope.
Was Cycly at home afterwards? He was like, maybe I'm a little fucked up if I thought that was like tame.
She started like telling me. I'm like, well, it wasn't that bad. And she started telling me scenes. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, that is right. That is gory. Really back to the movie. My wife watched it on an overseas flight. Oh, we were in Germany a couple months ago, and it was when you're on a plane watching. You have like the plethora of like nowadays you have 100 movies you can choose from.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, do I want? You don't want to watch a movie like, something epic, on a 5-inch screen.
Yeah.
And so you're sometimes like, maybe I try this, maybe I don't. My wife watched the Crawdad Sing, and I asked her, was it worth watching? And she was like, well, and she started telling me a little bit about it, and I was just, I'm a sucker for this. So I was like, well, just tell me how it ends. And so she told me. So I was like, okay, I kind of respect the ending. I will say. Yeah.
I think, Banner, you've talked about this a lot. The Plane movie automatically gets like a half to 1 full star bump.
Obviously, yeah.
Because it's doing its job of passing the time.
Yeah.
In fact, I saw Independence Day Resurgence on a plane, and best place to watch that where you're just literally trapped in a steel box with nowhere else to go.
I suggest it. I like it. I think it was good. It is a little bit heavier subject matter. A woman is on trial for murder for something. Some other events may happen that are fairly graphic. But it is a very good watch. I suggest it, but don't go into that thinking this is like my Friday night, party movie.
Popcorn flick. Okay.
Yeah, this is not your popcorn flick.
I didn't realize that there was kind of a mystery element to it, and you guys know I'm a sucker for that. So that now I'm much more interested than I was 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Cycly, what's in your cup?
Man, I have a lot. I'm going to start big. I'm going to go with something that is really hot on the internet right now, and that's The Last of Us on HBO. I'll probably save some discussion for the time Nate and I are together on this, because I know he is watching it as well. Have you Jeff, I know you said you were going to try and watch one of them on your flight home. Did you
my
get to
wife's out of town this weekend. I'm going to catch up. Just to remind our viewers, based on when we're recording this, there have been 2 episodes dropped,
Correct.
Right? And do we know how long the first season is? Is it 6?
I think it's. I thought it was 10, but
I don't know. I'm totally guessing. Let me look here.
I think it's 10.
Okay.
I'll split the difference and say 8.
And just to clarify, has anyone here played the game?
I have not. I've always been an Xbox person, and I wondered, when I had heard it, you talked about this on Pod a few weeks ago, and you asked me, said, "Oh, have you played the game? Have you heard about this?" And I was like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And I realized it was because it was on PlayStation. I never had, never entered my scope. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of fun though, because I've heard it's really true to the game. So I'm going in blind.
So the first season is 9 episodes. Yeah. The sequel game, The Last of Us Part 2, people have called the best game and the best story of any video game of all time. And the showrunners, the guy who did Chernobyl, already said, we're doing this show for 2 seasons. We're doing the first 2 games. That's it. So I think people are really just trying to get, like, this is obviously, I want to hear your thoughts, but they're like, can we get the second season? Because that's like the best game we've ever played.
Yeah, I've talked to a few people now who've played the game, and they said that that game was famous for obviously, and the gameplay was great, but they said the cutscenes in were the most authentic and gut wrenching scenes in any video game. Like, you know, I'm a big video game guy, maybe not the biggest nerd of it, but like, you know, it cutscenes, while sometimes you're just like, hey, like let's pass this through. I want to get back to the game.
Right.
Yeah, it's probably because you haven't seen something like that good. And I know now watching the first 2 episodes, there are specific scenes because I found them online. They're like shot for shot, line for line, identical to the game. They are like literally saying true to this.
I really respect that.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, okay, so clearly, Cycly, I'm assuming you're liking it.
I'm loving it. I had zero expectations going in. I was just like, you know what, why not? And guys, it's really good.
So you don't have to have played the game to watch it. I actually think there's a good chance we might get more out of it having not played the game than those who are like diehard purists of it.
Yeah, and what I'll say is this: like I said, we're 2 episodes in. This will probably air next week, and you know, and there'll be a time that Nate and I will be on together and talk more in depth. But it's very much could be your simple like, oh, it's going to be another zombie movie or it's another zombie show, Walking Dead type thing. My wife is severely enjoying it because there's an element of science to this that's actually based in realism, and like they literally reference real science on how these people are getting infected. It's a fungal infection, and they literally like the opening scenes of both episodes, which are flashbacks to the past before the outbreak happens, are probably two of my favorite scenes in the whole show. And I love it because fundamentally fungal infections can do this. They actually do this to insects.
Why didn't they just give them all tough acting Tinactin and called it a day?
You know, I don't think they've gotten to that part yet. That's probably the third.
Well, Madden is dead, so we don't know.
Yeah, that's that they waited to
Fuck!
Until Madden died.
That's the problem.
They knew the second we lost
the
our
fungi were thinking 3 steps ahead. But like really quickly, I'll just say this: like so, like in real life, like fungi can't infect humans like that because we're over the temperature of 94 degrees. And so like they're like, well, what if they evolve? And the scientist is like, well, why would they? And it's like, well, if the world is warming, you know, maybe eventually, and basically like that goes into the effect of how we get infected. But they base it on how these insects and ants get infected from these funguses. Like that's literally what happens. They take over their brains and just try to spread. So
you guys know my favorite part of any zombie movie or post-apocalyptic movie, and I'm not claiming to be unique in this regard. A lot of people love this, but it's how did the outbreak or the post-apocalyptic scenario happen?
Yep.
I will tell you this without spoiling anything. That's kind of how episode 2 starts, with a scientist in Indonesia kind of like figuring out like this is what's going on before anything has spread, and the shock and scare on her face. And I was like, I want the show of just that.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe we were like, I mean, HBO is really good at giving us the prequel after the series.
Yeah, I could see it.
This has me excited because, again, I've heard the second game is literally like people speak, probably some hyperbolics involved, but that it's the greatest story they've ever seen in a video game.
Yeah, I won't go more into that because there's nothing to know, but it's been HBO's most viewed show, premiered like out since Game of Thrones.
Which is fucking mind-boggling.
Yeah,
if you think about some of the stuff that they have had since then.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a chance just because why not? And guys, I mean, I'm excited for you guys to watch it. It's well done so far.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Okay, I should catch up this weekend.
Yeah, I think we only have a couple episodes left of what we're currently watching, and then we'll hop on that. Actually, no, we have a whole nother season of something else. We'll hop on it eventually.
You're getting through all the backdoor sluts. There's so many of them.
Yeah, but you have to watch them in order because you'll get
confused.
I know. We're on Backdoor Sluts 18 right now, so you know,
not even halfway.
Yeah,
almost.
You haven't even met Aisha yet, have you?
Who's Aisha?
Oh, just wait. She's a backdoor slut, dude. Sorry, spoilers.
Likely.
God,
I mean, what's the point in even watching now?
God, maybe I'll just fucking go watch Fantastic Four 2: Rise of the Silver Surfer instead.
Yeah, I mean, they're both great to masturbate to. All right, one thing.
Jeff, what do you got?
I don't know. I kind of want to stay on that topic for a little while. I've watched a lot of stuff again. That's why I'm glad we're doing just a protein shake episode. I saw a movie that I actually referenced or told Cycly about called Gone in the Night. This is now on Hulu. It came out in 2022. I think it had like a small theater release, but I'm not sure. But it is a mystery thriller starring Winona Ryder, John Gallagher Jr., who is seemingly fucking in everything. And I like him a lot, so that's not a complaint, but this guy's all over the place. And Dermot Mulroney, probably the faces we will know best. The premise here is Winona Ryder and John Gallagher Jr. are a couple who, there's a bit of an age gap that's kind of like starting to cause a problem with them. Like, he sort of wants to live like the mid-30s life, like kind of go out and socialize more, and she's in her mid to maybe late 40s, and they're just kind of on different wavelengths. And so
she wants to get a cat, huh?
Basically right. And so to kind of rekindle their relationship, he plans a trip out to an Airbnb in the wilderness to kind of, reignite that flame. And now this seems a little played out, even though this movie came out first. But when they get to the Airbnb, they realize it has been double booked, and there's another couple staying there. And yeah. So they do. They decide to stay the night, and they end up drinking and hanging out with this couple. And when Winona Ryder wakes up, no one else is anywhere to be found in the Airbnb, and she cannot get a hold of her boyfriend. And the movie kind of goes from there. Dermot Mulroney plays the person who owns the Airbnb, who she contacts to sort of try and track down the other couple who was staying there. And I'll just say this. The issue with the movie, really cool concept, some interesting ideas, but when they do finally reveal like where everything is going, the like order that things are revealed in, there's like a few flashback sequences that like kind of spoil the ending. But then when they do reveal the twist, they try and act like you had no idea it was coming. Like, ha! And you're like, no, you've shown me this in several flashbacks. I was like kind of confused when I was watching it. They reveal.
So the twist is that they spoiled the twist.
Well, yeah,
that's shocking.
It is weird. I kind of want Cycly and you, Banner, to see it because I want to, like, am I just interpreting this weird? But like they show you the end game and like what really happened like in Act 2, but then when they like catch up to like live, like, or like the current pace of the narrative, and they show it to you again, they act like you're supposed to be fucking blown away. I was like, you told me this. What do you like? I don't get it. And also, it just doesn't feel like it's that confident that it has a good ending in the way that it's all revealed. So one of those movies that, like, I don't want to say it had great potential, but the initial premise, what I told you guys, I mean, at least I was intrigued by that in the trailer. I don't know if that sounded cool to you, but I was like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Worth watching?
I don't think so. Not for you. Like this,
except for you need the reveal being spoiled answered.
Yeah,
so like don't watch it, but I need
so go
you
watch
to
the
watch
first
it.
5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you off pod. It's decent. It's actually like a decent twist. The problem is they give it to you halfway through the movie and then like drop it on you again and expect you to be like impressed. It's kind of an odd reveal, but Dermot Mulroney's I like him in pretty much everything. Winona Ryder does not give a great performance, but
she's very high and low, in my opinion.
This was probably on the lower end. All right, Banner, back to you. What do you got?
All right. Next thing we're going to. All right, let's go here. The hatchet wielding hitchhiker or some shit like that.
The Netflix thing, right?
The Netflix thing. Do you guys remember this? When I remember watching the video when like it happened.
Oh, really? I saw the trailer and I couldn't really. It was vaguely familiar, but I don't think I remember seeing it live.
It's not one that I thought about, but once they showed it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember watching that. So,
I must have missed it. I don't know how, because this is like in my wheelhouse. I don't remember this at all. How recently was this? And is this a series or a one-off?
It's a one-off. I think it's like an hour 20. It's pretty
like that.
Yeah, real quick. There's not a ton to tell here other than it's a hitchhiker that hit a guy over the head with a hatchet that he had because the guy ran into another guy, ran him like into a dump truck or some shit. And then he has this viral video, gets kind of like, internet famous there for 3 or 4 months. And then he ends up
for hitting a guy with a hatchet.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't that he hit a guy with the hatchet. It was the interview. This one news guy caught him did an interview, and he had this line where he goes, and then I just smash, and he hit the guy over the head with the hatchet. And how he presents, he's a very charismatic guy. And so how he presents it, like it was just one of those things that went viral, and we all know that the internet are freaks. I mean, we're right in the thick of it here. But yeah, he got kind of internet famous. He was just a nomad, kind of took rides and stayed, rode couches from here to there, wherever he could, and ends up murdering a guy and like trying to say he didn't do it. But
do we think, or does the documentary present the murder, and if this is a spoiler, then you don't have to say it, but as sort of a byproduct of his like 15 minutes of fame, either going
100% not.
Not okay.
No, 100%. They are like, okay, hey, here's this guy. Most of it, honestly, is the one guy that got the interview with the guy. He was the only person in the media that could contact him. I don't understand. I didn't understand like how nobody else could find this guy, but he was the only one that he would respond to via email. He would like have to the hitchhiker would like go to libraries and shit or borrow people's phones and check his email. And the only person he responded to was like this news anchor from Fresno, California. And the whole time it was that guy trying to get his 10 minutes of fame for the most part. But
everybody is capitalizing in some way here.
Exactly. No, they present him as like, hey, he's this like insane guy that hit a guy over the head with a hatchet. And yeah, he probably killed somebody. Oh yeah, hey, by the way, he actually did. There's no way, like, it's not like Making a Murderer where they can kind of dance around things. Like, no, it is 100% clear he did it.
All right.
But
do you think this is good enough to, since we're starting 2023, clean slate, to get a nomination for a best doc?
I think you got to throw it on there right now, but by the end of the year, we're down to we got to pick 5 or 6 top ones. I think this is going to come probably like 10 or 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But I think throw it on. I mean, the title itself gives it kind of like we were talking about earlier. I mean, it gives it a half-star bump. Like you're scrolling through and it's like a hatchet wielding hitchhiker. Like, well, fuck, I'll watch that movie.
And it's just literally describing the person.
Yeah. It literally just described like how he got famous. He was a hitchhiker that had a hatchet.
Nice. I'll give it a poke. All right, Cycly, back to you.
This is kind of, I won't spend time on this one because it's not a new movie by any means. But Jeff, I was texting you about it. Finally got up the courage because I had put it off for so long. I just didn't really want to put the effort in to watch Tenet. And, guys, Christopher Nolan has hit so many home runs. I'm sure you guys have talked about it on pod. So I won't go too much in detail. Again, very Christopher Nolan. What an opening. Knocks it out of the park like he always does.
And very Dark Knight Rises-esque.
Very, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't. So it's probably look, if you look at Christopher Nolan's movies, and I'm not meaning this as an insult. I think Tenet was fine. I'm not even talking about like, did I get it or did I not get it? Like, it was fine as a movie. The exposition, the dialogue was terrible. It seemed like Christopher Nolan really struggled with the script here. He just had maybe this idea that sounded cool and definitely had some good visual effects, but the dialogue and the story didn't go anywhere. This might be his worst movie. I mean, again, and not to say Tenet's a bad movie. What do you put behind Tenet? You can argue maybe one.
Yeah, that's the real question, right?
Is it Dark Knight Rises? Okay, I can get on board with Dark Knight Rises. That's not the best movie, but it's still a fun Batman movie. It's not Dark Knight. I get it. You mentioned Insomnia, one of his earlier films. I haven't seen that movie in about 20 years, but I remember liking it. So
yeah,
it was solid. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big Dunkirk fan.
I was going to say, where would you put Dunkirk in this conversation?
The problem with Dunkirk is there's just no story really, but I still think it's a better watch for me than Tenet.
The sound on that movie was incredible.
I'm more likely to watch Dunkirk again.
I'd rather have no story than just be so fucking confused that I can't.
I don't even know that Tenet had a story. I mean, like, seriously, who are they fighting at the end? Like, that makes no sense. But two, like, the dialogue I was making fun of, there's a literal scene in the movie Guys, Christopher Nolan is an Oscar like literal scene in the movie where they're explaining finally to the audience, like, if they succeed, everyone and anything that has ever existed will cease to have existed, and nothing will be here, and blah blah blah. And the woman goes, even my son. They're like, what? Who wrote? Yes, even your son. No,
your 8-year-old.
He is immune.
Yeah.
all billions of people and
Did we
every
not
animal
mention
in
that?
the earth.
Sarah, yeah, your 8-year-old kid is your little shithead son is the only.
Even my son. I was really happy. I was like, afterwards, I went to the Reddit thread about the movie back like 3 years ago, and one of the top comments was, "Even my son is going to be iconic forever," because it is the stupidest line. Yeah, no, he'll be fine. Like if you really think about the movie, like he's on a mission, he's a spy, and yet he keeps for no reason going after to save this woman. Like we get it at the end, she ends up being important because she helps kill the bad guy.
Right.
But like other than that, you don't know that's why he's not saving her for that reason. He's just like, oh, I want to save this one girl because I'm going to keep going after her. Like take away the difficulties of understanding the movie and how much depth it had in the time travel thing and going backwards and forwards in the battle scenes. This movie really didn't have depth as much as Christopher Nolan wants you to think it has depth. Like he's so desperate to distract you from the complexity that there's really nothing there.
It looks great. It sounds fucking great. The cast is awesome, but it's just like for me, it was not like a movie that worked at all.
I think it's the bottom of his list.
I'm gonna read through his filmography real quick, excluding Following, which was his black and white like intro. I don't want to say it's a short film, but I think it's like 40 minutes.
Yeah, you can't count that.
So Banner and Cycly, tell me if you think either of these movies are worse than Tenet, and if you haven't seen them, then that's obviously fine. Memento,
better.
Yeah, I would agree.
Memento's 100% better.
Yeah. Insomnia, which is his next film.
I remember it being better. No,
I actually haven't seen that one.
Okay. Batman Begins.
Better.
Prestige.
Better.
Dark Knight.
Of course. Better. Not even a debate.
Yeah. Inception.
Better.
Yeah.
Inception.
Really?
Yeah.
That was a little longer than expected.
Interesting.
I get it in Interstellar confused sometimes.
Inception was very high concept, but I got it.
Yeah.
Dark Knight Rises.
That's the closest one.
That's the closest one for me.
I think I still, in terms of enjoyment and rewatchability, I'm going Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, it's close, but I'll say Dark Knight Rises is better.
Yeah, I think Dark Knight Rises is better because it is part of a trilogy.
Yeah.
If it was a standalone, just one by itself, I don't think that statement is true. But because it has the complements of the other ones,
that's valid.
Next is Interstellar, which is a movie I really did not like, but I definitely liked it more than Tenet. And I didn't get Interstellar really either, but I got it more so than I did Tenet.
I've always been high on Interstellar, as you guys saw in my top 100, so definitely for me.
Oh, I love McConaughey. I'll suck his dick all day long.
Damn.
Dunkirk, which again, not a huge fan, but I had probably a better time with that than
good runtime too. I think it's pretty short.
Yeah. I will say this about both of those movies: I am never going to watch them again.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
I don't know that you could put one ahead of the other one or one behind the other one, but neither one of them are going to get another watch, in my opinion.
I think we've done a Dunkirk commentary, right?
We did. Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. And then Barry was on that one with us.
That's right. And then Tenet.
Yeah, no, obviously. Guys, and again, not insult to Tenet. That's a fucking good list.
Yeah.
Something has to be at the bottom.
And I think that's it.
Oppenheimer. I mean, gotta hope with the hype.
It's just weird when you say like Tenet's his worst movie. I could see people freaking out, like "Fuck you, man!" You're like, okay, but actually go through the list.
Tell me, yeah. I think we have an argument for two, like Dark Knight Rises and maybe Dunkirk. But I think a lot of people love Dunkirk. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's especially World War II buffs and stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, I won't go more into detail about that. It was fine, good action scenes, but.
It's funny because to me, Dunkirk and Tenet are like polar opposites. Like Dunkirk's weakness is there's no story. Tenet's weakness is it's all high concept and like so aloof that you can't even pin it down. Like, what the fuck is this?
It's like Dumb and Dumber is a movie about stupid people, but there's some like funny, like smart, well thought out humor in it. You know what I mean? Like it's a dumb movie, but it still has like smart concepts. The Tenet and that kind of film is like, oh wow, it's so brilliant, but I don't care how brilliant a film is. Inherently, when you break it down really quickly, it's dumb. Like Tenet is a dumb film.
Yeah.
Like that's how I felt about it. Like you can't get so complex that you tell me, oh, you have to be so smart. No, that's
No,
not how it
dude.
works.
And they had some cool visual ideas like the wall scaling and stuff and like inversion. But the concept of inversion, I've had it explained to me several times. I've watched several YouTube videos, and every time I hear more about it, it makes less sense.
No. I texted you during that scene. I was like, no, this is so bad.
It just doesn't. It's ridiculous.
All right, what else are you drinking tonight, Jeff?
All right, I saw M3GAN in theaters, although it's technically M3GAN. If you look at the
Yeah, I was confused by that.
Guys, look, I hate being this dude. This was like the first major release of 2023. I have AMC A-list. I was like, all right, I'm definitely gonna go see it. It's a, AI comes to life, starts killing people movie. I do not get what people are like so blown away by this with. It's a fine movie. It's whatever, but it is a piece of genre film that we have seen so many times. And I told Cycly this. I don't think it offers anything new for these type of movies. Like,
oh, but they've already greenlit a second one.
Mm-hmm.
I know, because they have to get to the third one.
2M3GAN. I don't know.
2M3GAN. Yeah, I don't understand it. Like you guys could predict the plot, paint by numbers. There's not that many kills. It doesn't do anything new. I don't think there's any idea in this that hasn't been done. I don't want to necessarily say better, but multiple times before. I mean, the AI becomes sentient and aware and starts killing people is almost so pervasive that I feel like it's basically a subgenre, right? Like there's probably a dozen movies at least we can rattle off that this happens in. And the other thing, guys, I don't know if Allison Williams is a good actor. She is really bad in this. Like, she really struggles.
The thing is, she was really good in Get Out, but she's acting like she's acting. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like when you're acting as an actor, like in the movie, right? She's playing a bit. So
sure, yeah, it's like a very meta element of like your character is acting and you are acting as them.
Yeah. So like you can get away with like being not as good because it was like, oh, she was playing a part.
Yeah, and this movie has like an emotional core to it that it puts in enough time to where I was like, okay, that's solid. I'll buy that. And it almost feels like Allison Williams is like playing it tongue in cheek. Some of the moments that she has with Katie, the child actress in this, who by the way is actually really good. But I guess real quick, this is a minor spoiler for like the first 5 minutes of M3GAN, so skip ahead like a minute if you don't want to hear it. But there is can I spoil the first like 5 minutes for you guys?
Oh, it's about the journey with me. I love spoilers.
Okay. So in the beginning, and I think this is in the trailer, but the young girl, Katie, her two parents die in a car accident where she's in the car with them. And that's why she ends up living with Allison Williams' character. And I don't remember the exact dialogue, but in the beginning, like anytime you see a child in the backseat of a car and the parents are in the front seat, like arguing and it's like snowy or raining, you're like, okay, we all see what's about to happen here. In my head, this is what I heard, but I haven't gone back to watch it. But there's basically a line that one of their parents has in the front seat there where they go, oh, we're going to live forever and be such a happy family. And then the fucking train like comes and hits them.
I can never die.
Yeah. M3GAN, Katie, we love you. We're going to be invincible forever. And then the fucking death happens. And I just remember like laughing in the beginning. I don't know if that was intentional. I can't remember the exact line. I wish I could. It would be way funnier, but it was something to that effect.
I've really come close. I was going to go that night or the next day after you watched it. And many times I've been tempted. I'm like, maybe Jeff Strong. Everyone's so hyped up about it. I still want to go to the theater. And you just, yeah.
It's not horrible. I just like, we get this movie once a year, and I'm not complaining. Like, I'll go see the next one.
We've gotten this movie once a year for the last 30 years.
Right. And I'll go see the next one of these. But I just, the way that the internet reaction to it has been, I was like, maybe I'm missing something, but I don't see like what about this like puts a new spin on the idea or even gives us like any new wrinkle to it. It's very paint by numbers. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you like I'm not going to go see the sequel, but I just didn't get it.
Did they leave it open? I haven't seen it, obviously. Did they leave it open where like it makes sense that there's going to be a sequel?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Like there's no question like, hey, if you guys don't greenlight a sequel, like we're setting this up for a sequel.
Yeah, I mean it's very obvious where you would take this the next one.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right, Brian, how about you? What else you got?
All right. Next, that 90s show.
Yep.
I've not
guys,
started this yet, but you got me into that 70s show in college. You're a diehard biggest fan I know, so I'm very curious to get your thoughts.
I am. That 70s show to this day is still my favorite series. Not necessarily an individual season, but as a whole, I absolutely love that 70s show. That 90s show, is it good? No. Is it fun? Yeah. Red and Kitty steal the fucking show. You can see how they raised their kids in that 70s show, and now they're grandparents and how they've kind of evolved, but they have to go back into that being a true parent role and not a grandparent role.
Sorry to interrupt you, but how much of the show is them versus the new kids?
50-50.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
great. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of Red and Kitty, which is fantastic. And that's really the only reason that I would say this is a moderate, almost success of a show. It is disappointing not to see the entire original cast all at once, but with everything that happened,
very sparingly, like really brief cameos.
Yeah, Donna's in it a couple of times. Jackie and Kelso are in it for 5 seconds. I still have, I think, 1 or 2 episodes to finish, so maybe they come back in the end. Fez gets an episode to himself for the most part,
because he still lives in Point Place, right?
Yes. He is a very successful hair salonist,
of course,
which is awesome. It's still nice to see all of them and see what their adult portrayals of those kids and those characters that they created are. Even Eric and Donna as well. Very, very fun to see them back in those roles. Best part about this, though, is being back in Point Place. Every episode, if you have watched that 70s show, every episode has a callback to something from that 70s show. Which
is the hub
nice.
Still there?
I don't think it's called the hub, but it is there, and they are in that restaurant or in that little hangout place several times.
That's cool.
Why I think this show doesn't work is the kids are too young. They're
like 14, basically.
One girl just turned 15. Like Eric and Donna's daughter turns 15 in one of the episodes. It's too young. I think that 70s show worked because they were a little bit older. I would say junior, senior year in high school, through, early 20s. That's when that show happened. This is happening at a time where you are figuring out what puberty is. By the time we get to that 70s show, they know what puberty is, and they know they're going through it, and they are fully embracing it. This, they aren't. I don't know. They're too young. That's all I got to say. I can't really put a pin on it. Cycle, you've watched it, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing?
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah.
Oh, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I will say this. You hit it nail on the head. Is this show good? No. I had fun though.
It's a blast.
Like, it's a blast. I genuinely laughed. I genuinely was intrigued. Like seeing Red and Kitty. My God, like I could just be fine with that.
I would watch a show of just the two of them.
Red being a grandpa is hilarious because he's much more chill, but he's still himself. But he's like
it's not my kid technically, but yes. Fuck, it is my kid.
Yeah.
They've got, and he still has it. They have some great foot in the ass lines.
Yes. Oh yeah. So the only thing I'll add to that is like I actually think the biggest weakness isn't necessarily the age of the kids, because half the kids are slightly older, right? Like her group is 15. Like it's kind of like half the 7. There's 7 of them, right? So like half of them are 15ish, and the rest are like 16, 17. So they're still like.
Sure.
They are drinking beer and smoking weed. Like they find the Eric stash and like things like that.
Disgusting.
That's what we
would
said.
20-year-old weed be?
Yeah, dude, it'd be so dried out.
My God.
But but the show honestly has some like just great moments. The biggest issue for me are the kids are just not great actors.
Oh, they're horrible.
That's what I got from the trailers.
And and the thing is, at first I was like, hey, first of all, we're not used to, let's all admit this, we're not used to 3-camera sitcom laugh track shows anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm just not. It makes me feel weird watching them. Like I just don't. It just doesn't have the right feel anymore. They're so played out, right? Like it was a specific genre. So I had to get over that. So part of me was like, okay, maybe that's just that part of. That's just it's all corny. But my wife and I went back and started that '70s show again. And we're like, no, these kids were so good. They are so good, the actors in that '70s show. So like, yes, that '70s show is still corny with the laugh track, all that. But like, no, those kids were good actors. So that's what sets the '70s show being like an iconic show, which is this is fun. But what my final thoughts, and this, Jeff, pertains to you. I think it's a better first season than How I Met Your Father was.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If we're gonna like compare sitcom laugh track shows based on shows we love from the '90s and 2000s, this one starts off better. Now, we'll get into How I Met Your Father here in a little bit, but I had fun. Was it good? No, but it was fun. I'd keep it going.
Yeah, I was gonna say if they make another season, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
It doesn't want me. I don't want more, but I'll take more.
Absolutely.
I mean, I guess if you think about it, that '70s show, if I remember right, the first season they hadn't really figured out like the voice of these characters, and then as the actors really got to know who their character was, especially Fez and Hyde, I feel like, because Kelso didn't change too much. Ashton Kutcher just really developed his comedic chops. It could be a similar thing here, but I also do think that raw talent-wise, that 70s show cast like probably had more in like one fucking grain of hair on their head than this cast has cumulatively.
Yeah, for sure.
I would argue that of the original cast, your weakest actor in that was your lead actor.
I feel like Laura Prepon as Donna, like the first season was already like a really polished actress.
Oh yeah, she's probably the best. She's obviously not the most well known, but she's probably the best actress or actor out of the entire crew. And then I would say Ashton Kutcher's probably next.
Really, over Mila Kunis?
Yeah, it's tough. They're
It's weird. None of them really have too much range, and I love the butterfly effect, but like we all know that was a fucking like lightning in a bottle moment for Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, he can't. He's never gonna get that back again.
All right, I'm definitely gonna watch it too. It's also on my list. I can't watch that one without my wife this weekend though, but I'll definitely watch The Last of Us this weekend.
It's worth it. It's fun. Yeah, don't go in just go in guilt free.
Yeah, it is not that '70s show. Don't even try to think this is an extension of that. It is not.
It can basically be like Zevia Cola, that '70s show, and I'll be okay with it.
There is a Zima reference.
There is. I loved it. Yes.
Cycling, was it you who said I wish this had more like '90s nostalgia?
I wish there were more '90s. It got better. They go to a mall. There's an Orange Julius. Like they do start a little more of the '90s stuff, but they could definitely do more.
When in the '90s is it like early, mid, late?
I think it's 95.
Oh wow! So that was like our fucking heyday.
Yeah.
Damn.
I like to think that they are planning for future seasons and they're trying to keep some gas in the tank as far as the 90s references and go. Maybe they can say, hey, let's throw all this in one last season and just give us a second season. But I want like fucking Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles in this.
Yeah. Because we started that '70s show, and they immediately started with Gerald Ford coming to town.
Yeah.
Brad asking the question, that kind of stuff, which you could argue that '70s show probably started too late in the '70s, considering how long the show 100%. Lasted.
Yeah.
But so maybe they don't want to make that mistake again. I don't see that being that show, but it is fun.
It's a little presumptuous, but respect.
Yeah.
All right, Cycle, what else you got?
Well, yeah, that was actually the next one. So we kind of combined those if you want to go.
Okay. Let me see what else I got. Let me talk about two things because I'll make these both quick. The show Dead to Me on Netflix. Banner, had you heard of this? Have you checked it out at all? This has Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini, as well as James Marsden.
I haven't watched it. I believe it's on our list, which means it may be lost to the abyss. I don't know.
Yeah. So season 3 of the show, which is the final season, just came out. It is a murder mystery dramedy Very vulgar,
there's a
very
lot there.
yeah, very funny, but also like there's like a mysterious murder plot that's a big part of it. And this is one of those shows where if they did try to do a fourth season, even regardless of how this one ended, we would have been out because the quality has been steadily declining over 3 seasons and took a pretty
Hate to see it.
yeah, it took a pretty big drop in season 3. Season 1 is incredible, and I would highly recommend it to anyone.
Okay.
And it just gets precipitously harder to watch. Like you can just tell there's narrative threads they're pulling on that aren't attached to anything. Like kind of grasping at straws to keep the story going. Having said that, I love Linda Cardellini and Christina Applegate's dynamic. Them two together are hilarious. Linda Cardellini is like this really like soft-spoken, like, oh shucks, no, I'm sorry, like so nice. And Christina Applegate's character will say like fuck you to a like priest if he cuts her off in the grocery store. So they're like they're like a fun dynamic. I would recommend the first season of the show, but anyone that sticks with it through season 3, I think you'll be disappointed, as I was. I was glad to see it end because it had definitely outlived its necessary. It was like drinking milk that's expired by a few weeks. Like you could technically do it, but let's just get new milk.
The fuck you can.
The wife and I have watched the first 2 seasons before, and I hadn't started with it. She started the third one, and she stopped. Like,
yeah,
she didn't, like, not in a bad way. She was just like, I'm just not into it.
No, I mean, if you were in it with her, she might have finished. Because if it was just my wife or me watching the third season, we probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah,
got accountability there.
Now, cycling, without spoiling anything, do you remember anything about the second season?
Yeah, because like she was watching the first third episode of the third season. I was like walking in and out.
Do you remember the moment in the second season where they do a certain thing with James Marsden that you're just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Banner, I can tell you when we get off pod, but there's a moment in the second season where I was like, is this show a joke now?
Yeah.
I actually thought it was going to be like a dream sequence. And then they're like, no, that's actually going to be like our plot. It's literally like a drunk 6-year-old pitched this idea.
It's got to be good then. Fucking gold.
So fucking bad. One other thing I'll say, Nate Thurmond and I don't know where we were at like 2 weeks ago, and we were really drunk, and we're on a binge that was, as we always are, of quoting Wedding Crashers. And Nate was like, I'm going to watch that movie when I get home. And it was like 2 a.m. already, and I was like, dude, I'm going to fucking watch that movie when I get home. We both go home, start the movies with our wives, proceed to realize we can still literally quote 95% of the lyrics. And I won't tell you where Wedding Crashers is on my top 100, but let me just say this. It is high, and rewatching it, it is just as hilarious as it always was. Every line works. Vince Vaughn is on a fucking tour de force of comedy, and it's just maybe the most quotable movie of all time, in my opinion. So it holds up, and I made myself a pact with myself, of course. I'm not going to move any movie up or down my top 100 list unless I rewatch it. And
I think that's fair.
Yeah. So this one might have benefited from that because it's so fucking good. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix right now.
Nice.
All right, Banner, back to you.
All right. Last one I got for the night. Flight Attendant on HBO. We watched the first season with your girl, Jeff.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought the acting was really good. At times, it got really fucking weird, and I was really confused. Have either one of you guys seen this?
No, but I love Kaylee Cuoco, and I haven't seen her in much dramatic stuff, and the trailer looked like it kind of toes that line.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a Okay, let me start over. There are definitely times where I laughed. I don't know that I was necessarily supposed to. I think so.
Like Coen Brothers type humor?
Yeah, you're also laughing at shit, and you're like, I don't know if like this is appropriate to be laughing at, but it was funny. She was good. I was more impressed with Zoza Mamet, and I've actually never seen her in anything else in my life.
She doesn't even really look familiar to me.
And I don't know who the fuck she is, but put her in more. She was really, really good.
Cycling, is this the guy from I'm thinking he might have left. Like Haunting of Hill House and a couple of those other. We'll ask him when he comes back.
Yeah, I think he's indisposed at the moment.
I'm here. Sorry, I was hearing weird noises.
Cycly, Michael Huisman, is he the guy from Haunting of Hill House and what's that other Netflix like horror?
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. I'm not sure about his name.
He's also in what was the remake of like that PI show that HBO Max did? Set in like the 20s.
I don't know.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. He's not. Wait, are you? Let me double check. Are you talking about who was in Flight Attendant 2?
Yeah.
By the way, I've only seen the second season.
What?
Man, what the fuck is wrong with you?
How do you only see the second season?
I was out of town and my wife like binged it the first season when I was gone, and so like it was on the second season. She was like, "Should I start it over?" I was like, "Nah, it's fine." I was like, "Just tell me what happened."
From the little I know of the second season, I don't think you missed anything. Like there's very little crossover from the first season to the second season.
Really?
Yeah,
Weird.
I haven't seen the second season, so I can't.
Yes, Michael Huisman was in the. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but he is the guy from The Haunting of Hill House.
I'm sure there's crossover, and I'm sure it builds on itself. But as far as major plot points go, I do not think that they really connect much.
That's kind of weird, but okay.
Yeah, but I haven't seen the second season, so I may be completely fucking wrong about that. But the first season, like I said, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. There were a couple of parts where she's kind of fighting some inner demons. They got a little fucking weird, but not weird enough where I'm like, okay, I'm out. It towed that line really well.
Is it a like murder mystery? Like what genre would you say it is? Because that's what I really couldn't get a feel for based on the show.
I would say murder mystery adjacent. It's murder mystery adjacent. I don't think this spoils anything, but in case you're like really into this, I would skip ahead a minute and a half. The first season plays around. She is a flight attendant. She's a fucking drunk. She hooks up with one of her passengers, and she wakes up next to him, and he has his throat slit. And it only happened, the entire season is like the course of like a week and a half, maybe. It's a really quick pace as far as like real time goes. And it is her basically trying to figure out what the fuck happened that night because she was so drunk she couldn't remember anything.
Sounds like the show should be called Sorry for Partying.
Yeah.
Perry Mason was the show I was thinking of, and it's not Michael Huisman, it's Matthew Rhys, who I always get confused with him.
One off.
He's the guy from The Americans.
Oh, yeah, they do look similar. Yeah. All white people look the same to you, though.
All y'all look alike.
Would
you recommend?
100% I'd recommend it. Yeah, it was good. It was fun. Really not that hard of a watch. I do think they are hour-long episodes, but they don't feel like hour-long, especially when you're kind of watching them back to back to back. I mean, we usually get through about 1.25 episodes a night, and so that didn't like throw anything.
You start an episode and don't finish it?
They're sick.
That's
Look, we have a 4-year-old. When you get tired, you get tired. Like you maximize your time that way.
Episode over. I totally get that, but like you can't pick up.
Yeah, you can pick up right in the middle. We may go back like a couple minutes and go, oh yeah, okay, this is what's going on. We have a little conference about it.
All right. Whatever you have clearly works. You're better at binging than anyone I know.
Yeah, I can watch 8 seasons of something in a day and a half.
It's impressive.
If I'm properly motivated.
All right, that's another thing that's on my list. It's like probably a summer watch for me when I have some more time, but I am intrigued. And unlike Cycly, I will probably watch the first season before the second.
Overrated. Star Wars taught me how to do it. Start in the middle. And then
You're supposed to watch the flight attendant machete style, but that's it's like what? That doesn't make of all the things.
Machete style. There's only 2 seasons. I'm confused.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just watch it backwards?
Oh, so what did you do? You watch fucking season 1 first?
Oh,
Yeah.
I get it. Okay.
Wow. Why would you do that?
Fucking weirdo. All right, Cycly, what else you got?
Well, if that was his last one, let me really quickly. I'll just mention them, and then you guys can tell me which one you want me to talk about.
This is going to be a fun game.
Well, watch The Menu. So, leading up to the Oscars. Sick, which Jeff and I have watched together.
Wait, hold up. Is The Menu getting some Oscar love? Because that would be incredible.
Did it not? I don't know.
I don't know. You saying that like...
I feel like it, like what I felt like with the critical acclaim it had, it has to get nominated for something. But I
mean,
could be
that'd be
completely wrong.
It's funny because as we're saying this, we all have the internet and Oscar noms have come out.
And I've read.
I'm not looking.
I am not. Yeah, I'm not gonna look that up.
I'm not looking that up. I want someone to comment below and get pissed off at us.
I read it like too, and now I can't remember. So okay,
or just be a nice person and inform us.
Yeah, that'd be.
Don't be a
God. Do something for us for once. Fuck.
For real. Fuck you. I didn't mean that. Relax. I didn't mean that.
Yeah, you did. It's okay. Sick, which you and I watched. Banshees. I never know how to say this part. Banshees of Inisherin or whatever.
Do they say it in the movie? That's what I was wondering. Is it like Inisherin?
That movie is only dialogue, and it's heavy Irish dialogue. You have to watch this movie with subtitles, guys.
Okay.
I watch everything with subtitles.
Yeah, I do too. But like, I usually have them just in case I miss something, so I can like look down. This one, I'm like, it's like a foreign movie. I'm like literally like just reading, and then just How I Met Your Father. But we can say that's another one. So I have two with you, Jeff. But
well, do you want to save How I Met Your Father when we've seen a few more from this?
Yeah, we could save that. Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about Sick as my last one.
So okay. So really quickly, I'll say two things. I'll say with the Menu and Banshees of Inisherin, or sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Banshees of Inisherin, I will say it is not for everybody. And that's not an insult to someone. Like, that's not saying, oh, you didn't get it. Oh, I'm so much smarter than you. If you didn't like this movie, that's nothing wrong with not liking this movie. Like, really, like that is not, there's nothing to get from this movie. You know what I mean? Like,
can I say the plot to me is super interesting. Banner, do you know what, like the plot is?
No.
Really briefly, it's basically like two age-old friends who've been drinking buddies back in the 1800s. Is it 1800s? During the Irish Civil War. Like one day, it's the guy who plays Mad Eye Moody.
Okay.
Decides to like.
What the fuck is?
Yeah, I have his name. He's in some of my
favorite
movies. Yeah, well, Braveheart. He's in so many things. I know the movie. This movie did get nominated for Oscars. This movie is just a character piece, right? Like this is a character-driven, slow burn story, right? Like that's what I'm saying. It's not for everyone. Like my parents watched it for some reason, and they were like, "Why did my sister wanted to watch it and made them watch it?" And like they were like, "Why did we watch this movie?" It's like, you know, someone's form of art, right? Like,
is it worth it?
I personally, you have to be in the mood for it. Be prepared for like 2 hours of just slow dialogue and not a lot happening.
Brendan Gleeson is the guy.
Brendan Gleeson, of course, yeah. So like if you've seen, like Nate and I have talked about Lighthouse and things like that, like these slow burns that have, I mean, there is suspense in the story, and like Colin Farrell's, like he was incredible in this. I didn't know he plays this like dim-witted character, like he's always like.
The plot is one day Brendan Gleeson just decides, like, dude, I just don't want to be your friend anymore. Nothing happened. Like, I'm wasting my time with you.
Basically, like Brendan Gleeson, I mean, this isn't spoilers, this is the movie. He's getting older. Life is happening. The war is happening. Brendan Gleeson's he's like, I'm wasting time just hanging out with you. We're not talking about anything. We talk about the same shit every day. I just hear you talk. He's like, I don't.
Isn't that what being best friends is, though?
Yeah, and that's part of the movie, right? Like,
and that's why Colin Farrell's, I guess, the quote unquote mystery is he's like, well, what the fuck did I do?
Yeah, he doesn't understand what's so wrong about hanging out at a bar and talking. He's like, but Colin Farrell, like, again, because I don't know, he was a heartthrob there for a long time, kind of the like, you know, like just everyone wanted to be him. Like it was fun to see him in this.
He had his like crazy stage, yeah.
Yeah, he's a very dim-witted, unconfident. And you can see, I mean, guys, like, we're all such close friends. Like, you know, like in 50 years, 40 years, one of us just like absolutely just drops you off like with no problem saying, hey, I'm done talking to you. Like, even though, like, you know, the love between our wives and things, like friendship is real love. And like seeing someone struggle with that kind of breakup, like it was really endearing. And like, he doesn't understand and he keeps trying to win him back. And like, obviously weird shit happens, but like, there is something to this. I'm just saying, what I'm trying to say at the end of this thing is like, this movie isn't for everyone or in your right state of mind. You have to be like wanting to watch the slow period piece.
Now, when it's listed on Google as comedy drama. I mean,
yeah.
What was the percentage here?
There's comedy in terms of like.
Is it like situational comedy?
Yeah, situational comedy, but I don't like, you know, then they're yelling at each other in Irish insults, right? Like.
That's like you're laughing and you're not sure that you should be laughing.
Fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and like again, they're drinking all the time. There's drunk. I mean, they're drunk. I mean, everyone in this town is drunk all the time. So I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I really liked it. I was in the mood. I knew that going in. My sister had warned me. I told my wife came in halfway. She's like, "Oh, do you think I'll want to watch it?" I was like, "No, I don't think so. Like, I just don't think that'd be her movie." So again, take it with a grain of salt. Maybe you want to watch it. It's very good acting, well written, but it is long.
Runtime's under 2 hours, which is manageable.
That's a plus.
And then Barry Keoghan, where does this guy find the time these days? He's fucking in everything.
I will say the time does feel, yes, it is under 2 hours, which I was like, oh, going in, but when you have a movie that's just pure dialogue, it does feel, you feel all of it.
You feel Banner, every 120 minutes of that.
Banner, was the Eternals last year?
Ooh, last year, 2 years?
Because if it was last year, he was in 3 movies last year.
No, I think it was 2 years ago.
Okay, again, I wish there was some way we could easily look this up.
Yeah, this is just, God. It's like we're at a bar in the 80s.
I know, it was 2021. But, all right, I'm interested just because this movie feels like there's not much out there like it.
Yeah, it's brilliant acting. If you just want to see well-written and well-acted drama, yeah.
Just putting on a clinic.
Yeah.
You had me at the Irish insults. I don't know if that will sustain itself for 2 hours.
I don't understand half of them.
Like, oh, that sounded like a fucking zinger. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And really quickly, I'll just say I like the menu a lot. My wife did not like the menu. Again, another movie that I don't think is my wife did not think this movie is for everyone. I felt
She said she didn't like it?
Yeah, she didn't like it.
Wow.
She found it very stupid.
Ugh.
I found and this is I don't know if anyone agrees with this, and maybe out there if you do, felt very midsummery.
Yes.
Even especially towards the end, cult-like, a very different concept. The way it ends, yeah.
I thought your wife would at least like the Tyler's bullshit joke.
I think she liked parts of the movie, and then the end, she was just like, "This is so stupid."
Yeah, I feel like it has such a good second act that it's almost like, well, how do you stick this landing?
Ray Fiennes is always a fantastic villain.
Although I don't like the slander on s'mores. That was I kind of took offense to that.
But that burger at the end of the movie, that's not a spoiler. There's a burger at the end of the movie that I would kill for.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Same.
It looks so good. Brian, have you watched this?
I have not. It's on our to-do list.
Brian, it was my surprise of the year. Like,
okay,
blew me away. So much fun. I think the most laughter versus expectation of laughter. Like, I was fucking cackling in the theater at this thing and not thinking it was going to be that funny.
Had no right to be as funny as it was.
It was fucking hilarious.
You know what I mean? Like.
Oh god, just some really interesting comedic ideas like that you don't normally see. Like the jokes aren't like someone says a line of dialogue and you laugh. It's all like the positions they put these characters in, and then some kind of like visual gags that they do that are really good.
The girl who went to Brown and didn't have student loans.
Yeah.
The follow-up to that part is.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I've heard good things, not great, good things.
And also,
even if you hate it, you'll be entertained for sure.
Brian, you're like one of the few people in the world that will understand this. The shop teacher from High School Musical, the series, he's in the movie.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I know.
What a fucking, career jump that is.
Right.
You're in High School Musical, the series, to the menu.
I remember watching it being like, I thought these guys just, couldn't get jobs.
So that's why you're on High School Musical, the series.
Yeah. All right. Are you psyched? Do you have anything else?
Yeah, that's everything. Got a lot.
All right. I'm going to say these two things real quick, not talk about them, but we have movie commentaries both out for one of these right now and then coming out for the other. So I just want to do some shameless self-promotion. In a few weeks, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania comes out, and I'm going to see it that weekend, but if any of you guys do, we should definitely review it as our first review of the year. And in anticipation of that, we did a movie commentary on the first Ant-Man.
So much fun to revisit.
It really was. And I think, especially with how kind of wild and out there the MCU has gotten in the multiverse saga, which I'm not shitting on. I'm interested in it. But Ant-Man is just like a nice sit down, take a deep breath. Nothing too crazy here. Just a good, funny movie with good characters.
Yeah. It was... Ant-Man is one of those movies I think gets lost in the shuffle. as far as all the MCU movies go. There's so many good ones.
Yeah.
That this is just kind of, I don't want to call it underrated because it's definitely not in that upper echelon, but it's just a solid fucking movie, top to bottom.
Yep. And so our commentary right now is out on all the audio platforms you can listen to us on in YouTube. So cue that up and watch the movie with us. Also, Cycling and I put our boner pants on, and in anticipation of Magic Mike: The Last Dance, we watched Magic Mike, which I think we were both surprised to see it was directed by Steven Soderbergh. Cycling, what's the tease you would give for our Magic Mike commentary, which drops, I believe, in a week?
God, we get homosexual really fast.
In the intro, I believe.
It's the most bi-curious I've ever been, guys. It was, things were
and that's saying
sold.
Something. That's saying something. It was, the only thing I'll say is that movie was a lot more fun than I expected.
Okay, let me ask you this because I have not seen it. Should I watch it?
Oh,
I mean, it's terrible.
You would, yeah, but you would love it. You would love it.
Okay. Is this let's say top 400 movie?
Can you give me a second to check my list?
Yeah. Of course, of course. Take your time.
But you're in the territory.
Like if you've watched, let's just say you watch 1,000 movies, is it upper half or lower half?
I think it's right in the middle somewhere.
Damn, it's gonna be close. I think my list right now is it's loading right now, but fuck you. You should work in Vegas because that over-under is...
Look, Valentine's Day, here's a good... Put it on for you and your wife. Just act like it's a gift for her, but it's a gift for you.
Ooh,
and then you can
okay.
then you can bank one too, which is the goal here.
Okay. All right.
It's the part Matthew McConaughey always wanted to play.
It might be the only McConaughey movie I haven't seen.
Like, literally, the movie inherently, Brian, is bad. Like, the movie doesn't go anywhere. Like, with 20 minutes left during the commentary, I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. Like,
was this a blind watch for you guys on the commentary?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so Banner, you're like right in. So I've seen 1,155 movies total, and Magic Mike is at 607.
Right, dead nut center almost.
So it's pretty close. It's right behind the 2019 version of The Lion King.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have The Lion King that high?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. So yeah, that movie commentary dropping soon. Not one you will regret watching with the Bro Force Squad.
I mean, maybe you might.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
If it makes you ask questions that you never knew existed, then you might regret it.
We're just broadening your horizons.
All right, so Cycly and I watched a Peacock original.
Yeah.
Is it? So the movie's called Sick, and it I guess had done the festival circuit in 2022. So some places have it as a 2022 release, but it was released like in mass and distributed in early 2023, obviously this year. So for the purpose of the pod, we'll count it as a 2023 release. Now, Cycly, I get like a bunch of movie newsletters that like tell me like, hey, this is what's streaming this week. And when I saw this one, I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, okay, this is right down Cycly and mine's alley. Why don't you tell our folks at home what the like plot premise is and then what your initial thoughts were going in?
Yeah, like the trailer gives away too much, much like many trailers.
I think I might have told you I stopped the trailer with like 30 seconds left because I was like, I get it.
I regret watching the trailer, but like nowadays it's almost hard. I used to love trailers. So that's a whole different discussion. But I would say this movie is early days of the pandemic, like April-ish, maybe March, April, when everything is like, are we taking it seriously? Are we not taking it seriously?
Yeah.
We're locked down, but young people are still going out. And then a group of two friends, go to her father's cabin on the lake, isolate up there in quarantine while, the world shuts down around them, which is, what you think going in, like, that's why it's called Sick, right? And then one of their friends joins the party and, someone's watching them.
Yeah. And I guess that's really all we can say without spoiling it. But I will say this. Cycling and I are big fans of home invasion movies. And this one does something that is relevant to the time that the movie is set in. I don't know. How much can we say about, I guess, our thoughts on the end or the twist without?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's up to you if we want to say spoilers for a minute, but
I'll just say this: there are some elements of this that are really well done. I think it looks really good. I think it's paced pretty well. The acting is pretty solid. I mean, sometimes in these movies you see like some cringe-worthy performances. I thought all the characters felt pretty real. Like none of them felt like caricatures of real human beings. So the home invasion part of it, I actually thought was pretty cool. It just, I don't know. The end, it takes a pretty decently sized swing for what this is, and it just for me didn't work. But, it's like, how did you describe it to me? You had a pretty good analogy. It was like it's like a genre piece for like the thriller slasher flick, and it does pretty well by that standard.
yeah, I think if you turn your brain off, it's like sometimes without like questioning the motives or like questioning these people. I mean, we actually get like sometimes it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Like you don't get any motive and the movie ends. You're like, oh, but why were they doing that? I want to know more.
Yeah.
And then you have this where like explicitly tells you why they're doing it. You're like, oh man, they told us too much. Like, come on, this is crazy. So it's like it's a tough line to play. I will say, as ridiculous as the end was, there are people like this. There are parents and crazies, and especially in that time where everything was so unknown. Now, I'm not defending the film. I think the film was mediocre at best. I enjoyed it, but like it's forgettable, right? Like never gonna watch it again, probably. But
Favorite kind.
it was. But I just don't think of all things like, hey, there's crazy people in this world right now. It's like especially when it comes to family. And I will say one of the things I did like
Dominic Toretto.
The victims of the movie they behave like how most people, it's not one of those stupid movies like, don't take a shower right now. Why are you running upstairs? Like
Billy?
they do things like we would. There's one scene in particular, like I was screaming at the TV, like do something. But for the most part, it was like they were being really realistic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if you like thrillers and slashers, this is like the first OG one of the year. I would give it a poke for sure.
Starts off strong, we'll say that. And at an hour 15-minute runtime.
Oh, dude, best. That was the best part of it. You were like, no matter what, like I can't shit on it too much because it does not overstay its welcome.
Yeah, you don't want your slasher film to be 2 hours.
It can't be. They collapse in on themselves when they get to that point.
If you're any longer than an hour and 45 minutes, you are not a good slasher film inherently because of your runtime.
At that point, you do one of two things. You either run out of people to kill, or like if you still have people left, you're like, how haven't they died yet?
Yeah.
So. All right. What's that? I got to tell you, Banner, it has been so hard to do You Even Lift, Bro, without you showing up as a parrot.
Guys, I'm like Texas football. I'm fucking back.
They're back, baby.
But you're actually
back, baby.
But you're literally back.
Cycling, their quarterback said they were back. I don't understand what you're fucking.
That's true.
Read a book. All right. That is our Do You Even Lift, Bruh segment, which is our question and answer segment where we pose a question and then leave you with it to ponder. The question, as we continue this, is our countdown of each of the bros' top 100 movie lists of all time. Now, Banner, how would you describe these movies lists? These are not your AFI's top 100. This is not your curated New York Film Institute's top 100 pieces of cinema you must ever watch.
This is the Brian Banner curated top 100 movies of me. This is my top 100. Some of these movies are embarrassingly high, but they are tied to a very memorable memory of ours and a very influential
I love memorable
time.
memories.
Aren't they the best?
Way better than immemorable memories.
I hope to have one someday.
Exactly. This is not, our number one movie is not the best movie ever made. Our number one movie is my favorite movie. Hands down, top to bottom. That's what these lists are about. Great exercise. I invite everybody to try and do it because it honestly was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to put on paper in my life.
And Cycle, you talked about this because I think your sister or someone else in your family did it. Like the process of putting these lists together, I think in and of itself is like just a really fun activity because it's like a trip down memory lane, right? The sentimental value of these movies has to play into their ranking on your own list.
Yeah, you have debates like both my sisters did this, and my brother-in-laws. You have debates with yourself. You have debates with your friend. How I'm sure you guys felt the same way. I still argue with myself over some of these movies.
There's a movie that before we did this exercise, I would have said, "Oh yeah, that's like a top 20 movie for me." When I was done, it ended in the 200s.
That's because you've been watching all the backdoor sluts.
That's true.
They're all jumping in front.
I know.
Well,
it
except
sucks.
for number 4. We all know number 4. Really,
you can't win
Ryan
them all.
Johnson
Though.
one.
Yeah, the Ryan Johnson one. Where
Funny you say
you
that.
You thought porn was actually like serious. All right, so Brian, how about you start us off? You can do a couple here. Your last one you did was your number 62 movie of all time, which was The Santa Claus. And as people are listening, the link to all of our lists is in a Google Doc, which you'll find in the description of this episode of our podcast. So you can go check that out. So, Brian, what is your number 61 movie of all time? And just for a point of reference, Cycles was Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix, and mine was the Jordan Peele debut film, Get Out. So what is yours?
Mine is Guys, I've got a fun list tonight. I'm just going to say that. Mine is Star Wars The Force Awakens. Mostly because of what this was. This is a movie that I never thought would ever get made. Just another Star Wars movie in theaters. Is it a great movie? No, it definitely gets pulled down because of the pile of shit Ryan Johnson did after it, and then the best job that it could have done in Rise of Skywalker. It also, in my opinion, has the best score, only second to Episode 1. If you actually go back and watch this movie and listen to the score, it is phenomenal. So yeah, 61, Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Who scored this? Was it Williams again?
It was Williams still. Yep. He's done every Star Wars movie of the Skywalker saga.
This is high. I'm nothing wrong with that. This is higher than I expected. I was wondering if any of the sequel trilogies were going to get on anyone's list.
You know how big of a Star Wars fan I am.
Of course.
I'm not even going to pretend that I'm not. I am the biggest Star Wars fan on the pod. Yeah, I have extensive, like embarrassingly gone deep into the Star Wars canon. And it is a good movie. It definitely gets a bad rap because of what happened after it. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it's A New Hope regenerated." Sure, it is. A New Hope was a fucking great movie, so that's not an insult. Again, yeah. I enjoyed it. I liked it. It mainly because I never thought I was going to see another Star Wars movie in theaters ever again, and this was that first movie. Back.
Yeah, if we're talking like event films, I mean, it was cool generationally to go see this with our parents and us. Like that in and of itself, I think is worth an inclusion on a list.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so what's your number 60?
60. John Wick Chapter 2.
Hell yeah.
Oh, nice.
Guys, this is some of the best fight choreography I've ever seen in my life. I love that stuntmen are finally getting a chance to direct because they just make fucking cool movies. They're simple. There's nothing like too complicated about it. They're just a fucking blast. And that's this one just kept riding the ranks because I watched it and I was like, God, I had a fucking blast watching that.
What is this on?
It's HBO, I think, right now.
Is it?
I think all three are.
I think all three of them are.
This might be a weekend watch for me because
the John Wick movies.
They're so much fun. Have we done commentaries on any of them?
I think we did. I want to say we did one of them.
Yeah, I think we need to do all these.
We do. They're a fucking blast, guys.
Because not Parabellum. Is it just called Chapter 4? What's it called? What's the new one called?
I think it's just Chapter 4.
Yeah, John, we got to do another commentary with the fourth one coming out. These are so much fun.
Again, some of the best choreography I've ever seen in my life. We do get a little bit deeper into the assassin world in this than we do on the first one, which is a lot of fun, but it's not too much where you get bogged down in the details. There's a lot of fucking killing in this.
Yeah. Creative fucking kills.
Very creative. Like I said, some of the best fight choreography I've ever seen.
And in these fights, the cameraman is like in there with them.
Yeah, he's fighting them also.
Yeah, I saw him break a guy's finger. It was pretty.
Yeah, it was insane.
Kind of takes you out of the movie, but again, if you got to kick some ass, you got to kick some ass. To your point about the Continental, which is actually getting its own HBO Max series.
Yep.
John Wick, like, it works on two levels, because if you give a shit about the lore and the story, that's awesome.
And it's there.
Like, it's there. And it works. And if you don't, then who the fuck cares? It's Keanu Reeves killing all of New York. So that's fine too.
Yeah. Love it.
All right. What's your number 59?
59, Cycly. Put your seatbelt on for this one. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Ah, Part 2 is so good.
Part 2, yes. This is a movie that just sums up a series so beautifully. The CGI was great. This is, in my opinion, the best acting in all 8 movies that we had.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, like he's not even the same fucking person in this one as he was the other ones. I mean, he wasn't. He was sober in that one, which is a big difference. But just fantastically sums up and wraps up a long-running story. I think there's one other movie that does it better, and that's it. And I'm not
one of the best. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
One of the best openings.
Oh yeah.
I mean, 100%. In any fantasy, just Hogwarts, just completely demoralized, kind of military dictatorship school. The marching and the music, the score in that opening scene sets the tone.
Powerful.
For a movie that doesn't stop. I mean, the fact that I remember when they announced that they divided these movies into 2, they had to do that.
Isn't the book like 700 pages or something like that?
But like that. I mean, you could have.
And where they divided it was the perfect spot.
Yeah.
They ended the part 1 very dramatically, right where you hit rock bottom. And then this one is all uphill from there.
Yeah, the movie doesn't stop. It's literally like, other than the first, I think, 15 minutes, which is like dealing with Dobby's death and then finding their way back to Hogwarts. It doesn't
stop after that.
Non-stop.
Yeah. Again, you guys know I'm sucker for series and shows and franchises and everything intermingling. And when it all just gets wrapped up in a nice little fucking bow like this, it gets high praise from me, because it's hard to do. This is also one where I think if you take the second half of the last book as a book in itself, this is probably one of the better adapted page to screen of the series.
With what they could do, because they had unwritten some.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like,
correct.
Yeah, I think
they were limited, and they did a good job with what they had.
Now, I know these were shot, like Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 were shot at the same time. What was the release schedule?
6 months.
6 or 8 months, yeah. They were pretty close.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I remember I actually saw this with Cycling in theaters because it was like an event movie. I'm not the biggest Potterhead, but I just thought visually this looked so fucking cool. Like the dark aesthetic. It's like gritty, but also like the CGI was pretty mind blowing at the time. Like especially
the CGI was incredible, and just how they did a lot of the fighting with the wands and casting the spells. Just even now, I mean, it holds up.
Yeah,
and Ray Fiennes having the fucking time of his life.
Yeah, he was iconic for that role. He was perfect for Voldemort. Yeah.
That was pretty sick. All right, good one.
And then great performance out of the late Alan Rickman as well.
Yes, big time.
I really thought he was going to get an Oscar nom. I really did. I'm not saying that as a Potterhead. His performance
is incredible.
I mean, he's got some heavy lifting in that one too.
Yeah.
Just for context, Cycly's number 59 with this was A Christmas Story from 1983.
Okay.
And mine was the original Black Panther. So let's do our number 58. Mine was National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Hell yeah.
Cycly, are you prepared to do yours, or do you want Banner to do his, and then we can...
I'm ready. But
all right, what's your number 58 movie of all time?
It's probably one of the best. We were talking about Last of Us earlier, but this, in my opinion, is one of the greatest zombie movies ever. It's Shaun of the Dead.
I love Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah,
God, I
it's
haven't seen
such
that movie in forever.
it's such guy. I mean, like I have a couple of his movies in this list. I think I already did Hot Fuzz, a few above.
Love that movie too.
But my God, it's always been a fun debate for me. Is like which one's better, Hot Fuzz or Shaun of the Dead? They're both absolutely fantastic, hilarious, brilliantly written. But Shaun of the Dead probably because it came before, and the concept and the of the movie. Oh my God, it's just so fun. The fucking like, let's just have a pint at the Winchester and let's wait for this to all blow over.
And you and I just love like dry British humor too.
Absolutely, like it is the driest of the dry British humor. Again, not for everybody, but man, this movie is what, maybe almost 20 years old, right? Like it's been a long time.
Right, it's got to be right around there.
I think by far the best of the Cornetto trilogy, although World's End has the best first act, and then it just completely...
World's End has a really good first act, but
it falls apart. Yeah. It
does fall apart.
Yes,
but Hot Fuzz is, man. But yeah, this
Hot Fuzz
movie, if this one is 20 years old, I mean, God, it holds up to this day. Like the comedy hasn't aged.
So
everything about it, the story of friendship, his mom, the family, like. This is just a classic. We're not just as a comedy, not just as a zombie movie. Like this is a great film.
Yeah.
Like yeah. The fact that it's 20 years old blows my mind because
it
doesn't feel like that.
It might even be more.
It's 115 on my list, so it just missed the cut. Great inclusion. Damn, I want to rewatch that too.
It's the music too. The music is so. The second the movie starts, like it's.
What is? I was gonna.
Well, it's so. I love the opening. Like everything is so like repetitive, and that's why I love. That's why he doesn't notice the zombies, because every day is the same. He buys his
Coca-Cola every morning.
Yeah, like nothing is. God, yeah.
I wasn't gonna. Good. All right, Banner. What's your number 58 of all time?
58. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
You weren't lying. This is a fun list, man.
I told you guys, like, we're getting into some fun shit here.
Yeah, Banner looked at it. He was like, we just went from 6 to midnight.
Yeah. This movie just made me want to be an archaeologist as a kid. I mean, it's a fucking blast.
And now you are not.
I'm not an archaeologist.
Damn.
But I still do love Indiana Jones, except for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That is a bottom 5 movie for me.
So this was my number 65, and I rewatched it recently. It's on Paramount. I mean, like you said, that score, dude. Like,
yep.
I remember being a kid. I remember being a kid and being like, "This is the." I know I'm only like 10 years old. This is the happiest I'll ever be in my life.
And when the first time I watched this, again, like we said, these top 100s are tied to some pretty sentimental feelings for a lot of us. The first time I watched this, or right around there, at Disneyland, the Indiana Jones ride was brand fucking new. Great. Like it was like a 4-hour wait, and I fucking waited in it. I got to ride it one day because I wore these boots that had like thick like soles on it, and then I went back the next week, and I had different shoes on, and I was too short. And I was like fucking devastated.
Fuck.
Yeah. But it is the ride at the time was state of the art. It was amazing. It holds up. It's still a lot of fun today. But I coupled that memory with this movie, and it's just like I get chills talking about it.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, this is one we'll have to figure it out at the end, or like at least have a discussion before like the top 30, but like movies that might be on everyone's list, and this is a very strong contender, I think, for that.
I'd agree.
All right, let's do our number 57s, and then we'll close out. Mine was Step Brothers, which I opened with a quote from, and I did last week. One of the best comedies of all time. And I did tell a great story, Cycly, how you and I almost walked out of the theater on a first watch just because it was not working for us.
I can't believe as we've aged, the movie's gotten funnier. Usually it's like the reverse.
Like, it has somehow come around. I'm surprised we even gave it a second shot, because I remember being like, what the fuck is this the first time? But it works. So, Cycly, what is your number 57 just ahead of Shaun of the Dead?
Return of the Jedi.
Wow.
Okay.
Back to Star Wars. And the only reason to me, I think I've mentioned this before on our conversations on Star Wars and our commentaries on Star Wars. the thing that holds Return of the Jedi back for me is the first act. It's the first 30 minutes.
You don't like the Tatooine stuff?
I don't.
Yeah.
I really don't.
A lot of sand.
It's not. Here's the thing. I hate sand. It's coarse.
So rough.
Rough, and
It's
it gets
everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's not that I hate that scene in terms of like what. Okay, they went and got Han. It's how long it takes. It's literally a quarter of the movie.
And what are we really setting up? I guess that Luke's like a badass now, but like,
he's a Jedi now, right? Like, but we didn't need it to be 30 minutes. In my opinion.
Damn, it's that long?
I think
oh
so.
yeah, it's fucking long.
Shit.
It's literally a quarter of the movie at least.
That's too much.
And that's the problem with the movie. And so I will say it's I mean, of course we get the iconic second and third act. Is
that the best third act in all of Star Wars?
I don't know. I mean, Rogue One is up there.
Rogue One is really
Rogue One. It was just cool though, like the fighting happening on like three separate.
Yeah, three. Yeah. Yes,
it's and they're iconic. All paced differently. Like the Luke's fight is the slowest. The Endor is like the middle one, and then obviously the space battle is the most high octane.
Yeah, and for me, the funny thing, the reason why I think it is higher on the list than I probably expected it to be, because I don't like the beginning of the movie, is because one, as a kid, this was my favorite Star Wars movie. I wasn't kid, I wasn't mature enough to like really appreciate New Hope or really appreciate Empire, which is, I mean, no spoilers, Empire is my top Star Wars movie on this list. We're not even close to it yet. But my point is, as a kid, because of the action, because of that last act, I loved Return of the Jedi. And before I had met either of you in 7th grade, my buddy had all like the most insane amount of Star Wars toys. Like he had every Star Wars fucking toy of all time, to the fact that we actually reenacted the entire Return of the Jedi.
Holy shit. He had like the guy driving the AT-AT's toy.
Yeah. We filmed the entire movie.
Holy shit.
With the toys. I mean, we thought we were doing something so artistic.
So like you played the audio like on a
yes,
behind.
You can hear the movie in the background, and we're just doing the toys.
Awesome.
Dude, where is this? I need to see
you
it.
guys know these guys I did it with. That's what's funny. Yeah, and what's funny is by the end of the movie,
at least the cycly cut.
Yeah, the thing is at the third act where it's switching between Endor and the Death Star and space repeatedly, we end up acting the rest of the movie out ourselves. And
that's cool.
What you love about this is so middle school. This is probably it was one of those sleepovers where we didn't go to bed.
Yeah.
We filmed this over a period of like 11 at night till 8 in the morning. And you can see how like stupidly delirious we are. So like this movie has a special place in my heart too.
Yeah, see, that's what you'll always remember. That's the whole point of this list. All right, where are we at? Is that it?
We're doing.
I think Banner's one.
Oh yeah, Banner, you got one more. You're number 57.
57. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Well, one ahead of me.
Yeah, I mean, guys, it's a classic. It's on everybody's must-watch Christmas time movie list, and if it's not, you're not human. It's arguably the best vacation movie. Arguably, you could convince me one way or the other on any given day. We've talked about it at length. We don't need to talk about it anymore.
So, how, you don't have to give me like a exact figure, but how many movies are on your, like every Christmas you're going to watch them?
I would say now that I have a child and don't have as much control over the remote as I'd like to admit, there's probably 5.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. This, Christmas with the Cranks, Santa Claus, and then I always watch Frosty. I love Frosty.
Yeah, I think I have about 5 too. I have Muppet Christmas Carol.
Muppet Christmas is a good one, yeah.
Yeah, and then I also have All I Want for Christmas, which I don't know if I've got to yet, but I'll get to it later, which is like more of a niche one, but for me it has so much sentimental value that one has to be on mine. But yeah, National Lampoon's got to be in there, I think, and holds up.
No one has backdoor sluts go to North Pole.
I haven't gotten to that one yet.
It's technically a Christmas special.
It's a special, yeah. It's not technically part of the series.
But is it canon?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's for a whole another episode. We have Jeff.
Jesus.
We're gonna start that. Oh, we need 2 more hours.
I was gonna say, how's this guy gonna bring this up at the very end of the show? Are you fucking kidding me? My God. It's like, hey, do you guys believe in God? We'll close with that. Like, what? No, that's too heavy.
Little teaser for next time.
All right. Yeah. All right. So that gets us to, holy shit, is everyone at 57 movies? No. Okay. We need Geiger to do a few. He's close. He's at 59. But if you check the link for our top 100 films, most of us are to our number 57 movies, which means
I way underestimated how long it was going to take us to get through these.
Underestimated?
Yeah, like I thought. No, overestimated. No, I don't know. I thought we were going to be done by now.
What?
We've been doing this
How?
shit for a year.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I thought this would take a while.
Yeah.
The
It's
best
just-
part is like it gets more and more interesting as you go. Like we're
Yeah.
almost to the top 50 now, which is it's not a fucking joke. Things is
Shit
great.
gets.
I'm not laughing.
real.
No, Cycley's not. He's smirking, but he's not laughing. All right, guys. As we leave the people for episode 199, I guess 2 things lingering. Holy shit, we've done this 199 times. What do we do for episode 200? We need to make sure it's underwhelming and disappointing because that would be in line with us. And then also,
All right, just a normal show. Got it.
any closing thoughts for the fans at home? Cycley, we'll go to you first.
Usually, I'd tell you to get out of the fast lane. It's passing lane. But you know what, guys, stick to the Backdoor Sluts anthology. It's worth it at the end.
Mhm.
I promise.
Yeah, it's a series that gets better, then it gets worse, then it gets better again, you know?
Yeah. And you don't have to start at the first one. That's why I said it's an anthology. You can bounce around.
Yeah, there's a lot of different opinions on what order to watch them in. Banner, how about you?
Guys, I know it's been a while, so you guys probably forgot, but pull over for emergency vehicles, please. This is becoming an epidemic. Okay, just pull the fuck over.
You saw something again?
Yeah, and it was around the Christmas time. It was, I know, disgusting. So just make sure we're pulling over. You don't know whose house might be on fire. Maybe it's yours or like your friends or maybe your neighbors, which is even worse because then you're terrified it's going to jump to your house. So
Wait,
but how would that be worse than just being your house?
that's what I.
the anxiety gets
Yeah,
you.
no, you're right. Okay,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
God, I
There's-
wish this was
Like if your house
I wish
catches
it
on
was
fire.
just my house.
Yeah, like if your house catches on fire, like, well, shit, there's nothing I can do. Like, you at least can act on it, try and put it out, or call the insurance. But if it's not your house, you're just waiting and watching it.
But if my house ever catches on fire, I'm gonna be like, well, at least it wasn't my neighbor's house because then I'd be screwed.
Then we'd be here freaked out that it was going to be our house next. And you're like, no, but it's currently our house.
See, my point exactly.
No, that
Pull over for those emergency vehicles. You don't know where they're going or who they're trying to help. It could be somebody that you know.
Plus, just think about the karma aspect of it, right? Like, you try and outrun an ambulance. The next time you need one, like, some shit's going to happen and it's not going to make it there.
They probably ran out of gas.
Sure. All right, what I'll leave people with is when you go get your hair cut, let's make some smart decisions, guys. Not the time to try a trick play or anything fucking wild. Do what works. You're not in a K-pop band. We don't need blue hair. We don't need some weird thing that looks like a snow cone on your head. Let's just be smart. Play it safe, all right? Even if you're not an adult, make good decisions in the haircut chair. And respect lines. Not related, but maybe, depending how popular your Supercuts is. All right, for our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycley, and the mad scientist, Brian Banner, I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek. We are the Bro4 Squad podcast. We're on Twitter, @Bro4 Squad. Same thing on Instagram. If you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words, you can basically find us all over the internet. Letterboxd, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, and then, Banner, what's our website?
www.bro4squad.com.
Yeah, on the interwebs. Check us out there. Everything's linked. Our squad blog, our top 100 movies of all time list, and all the places you can find us. Till next time, we'll see you at the movies. I'm going to see Missing this weekend. Maybe I'll see you there.
I might be missing.